Michigan takes on its first Big Ten opponent of the 2021 season against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights this Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The Michigan Wolverines will be facing a team that, like them, has not committed a single offensive turnover this year. And today I'm going to be previewing both teams and just giving my prediction. So first of all, I want to say these two teams are 3-0. Rutgers is on an uptrend with Greg Schiano, who coached there in the 2010s and even got him an 11-win season in the Big East Conference. So Rutgers, for Michigan fans, this is not a team to overlook. In fact, no team is worthy of overlooking. If we want to reach Indy and beat Ohio State and do all these amazing things, then we cannot overlook any team. Just can't do it. Can't do it. And this team, they forced 4 turnovers from Syracuse, 5 from Temple, probably more from Delaware. I watched their highlights against Syracuse because that's the closest thing you can get to a real analysis of this team, is because Rutgers, they haven't. I would even argue that Syracuse is likely worse than Western Michigan and worse than Washington. I don't know if I'd go as far to say as worse than NIU, but Syracuse is a pretty lifeless football team. They haven't had a winning season since 2018. Horribly overrated in 2019, turned out to be trash. 2020, they were even more so trash. And here we are in 2021. Dino Babbers is on the hot seat. And let me tell you, watching that film with Rutgers, it was like watching two teams with minimal talent battle it out. But if you're a Rutgers fan watching this, the one thing I will praise is your team was far more disciplined than the Orange. The Orange reminded me of, the orange that you find in the back of your fridge that's peel is as hard as stone, and it looks kind of green and it smells like an expired orange. That's what Syracuse was like. Syracuse was horrendous to watch. 4 turnovers. Rutgers missed a field goal in the red zone. What does Syracuse do? They drop back to throw, and then Rutgers gets a strip sack. I mean, it's atrocious how bad Syracuse is. Rutgers scores an average of 41 points a game. Michigan scores about 47. Both only allow 11.3 points per game on average. Michigan has nearly 200 more yards on offense. Another thing I forgot to mention is Rutgers failed to put over 200 yards against Syracuse on offense. Rutgers only allows 258 yards on average. Michigan allows close to 300, which just kind of shows with Michigan's 11.3 average allowed points. It kind of solidifies my belief that for now, at least, from what we have seen, Michigan looks to have a bend but not break defense. A defense that, unlike Don Brown, is okay with making adjustments, okay with not having to send, 6 or 7 guys, or 5, 6, 7, whatever, forward every time. Don't always have to play in man coverage. It's not a all or nothing deal with this defense. It's something that we've needed for a while. It'll be interesting. Noah Vedral has actually passed for more yards and more touchdowns than Cade McNamara. 606 passing yards for Rutgers and 4 touchdowns compared to Michigan's 371 and 3. Comparing the two starting quarterbacks, you've obviously had J.J. McCarthy, who's gotten a lot of playing time. Had the whole second half against NIU, had great portions of Western Michigan. I mean, Michigan's done a really good job, in my opinion, of utilizing these games against lesser opponents to their advantage to get on-field reps. It's something that I've really enjoyed watching here. Rutgers, again, team that seems to capitalize off of mistakes. They don't have nearly as much talent as Michigan, don't have same production. I don't know if they're more disciplined or not necessarily. I think that will have to wait until we see this matchup. Even if Michigan wins, Rutgers might still be the more disciplined team because of the mass talent disadvantage and the fact that Michigan has a pretty big home field advantage, a very underrated home field advantage against teams outside of our rivals. So it'll be interesting for sure. Michigan here, as according to sportsreference.com, the second strength of record and the 20th strength of schedule. Rutgers has the 22nd strength of record and the 102nd strength of schedule. I only mention this to put into perspective how, despite Rutgers having similar points per game on offense and opposing points a game allowed on defense, that the two teams are actually more different than similar, despite what these stats might say. Vedral, Johnny Langen, and Cole Snyder have all gotten reps, but Noah Vedral, obviously being the starter, has gotten way more than the other two. It's similar with Michigan, J.J. McCarthy and Cade, though McCarthy has gotten a far bigger percentage of snaps than Rutgers' two backups. Michigan has Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum, and I noticed that although at the beginning of the year Haskins had more attempts, Corum is certainly catching up. He only has one less attempt compared to Haskins, yet rushes for almost 3 yards more per carry, has 3 more touchdowns, and unlike Haskins, Corum has 46 receiving yards and a touchdown. Haskins has no receiving yards, no touchdowns here. So you got Corum, Haskins. Edwards is amazing as well. I mean, he already has 100 rushing yards on the year. So Michigan really with a deadly, what is it proper to say, deadly trio of running backs. Rutgers has Isaiah Pacheco, had 46 rushing attempts, 165 yards, 3.6 average yards a carry, and 3 touchdowns. Looks pretty similar to Noah Cain's numbers at Penn State. Not obviously the greatest, but Rutgers' offensive line and talent, again, what I'm saying about talent here, Rutgers just doesn't they don't have the same talent Michigan does. It's just plain and simple. On the receiving end of things, you're led by Bo Melton, who has over 200 receiving yards. I mean, for Rutgers, to me, that's like, wow, already. And 2 touchdowns. Michigan doesn't even have a wide receiver that has 2 touchdowns or 200 yards in receiving. Closest thing we have to that is Cornelius Johnson, followed up by Dalen Baldwin, each with 1 touchdown reception. Johnson has 6 receptions for 165 yards. Baldwin has 4 receptions for 92. So that right there, I mean, the offenses here, they look equal when you compare points a game, but when you compare strength of schedule and everything, just looking at it, I mean, Rutgers is obviously more efficient with their pass game than they are their rush game. It certainly seems like it, and Michigan is definitely more effective with the run game than the pass game. Talent and everything factored in, I'd say that Michigan's offense will by far be the better offense this Saturday, and I'd say the same for the defense as well. On the defense, you're led by Aiden Hutchinson, Jamon Green, Josh Ross, Daxton Hill, RJ Moten has kind of emerged, Nakai Hill-Green, David Ojabo. I mean, you have a lot of people with potential. And Rutgers, too, under Greg Schiano, I mean, again, talent margin and all that stuff. But Rutgers has a player in Max Melton who has 2 interceptions, 4 passes defended. 1 was a touchdown. He also had a fumble recovery, too. And you also have Keshawn Abraham with 3 passes defended, Christian Eisen with 3 passes defended, and Trey Avery with an interception. You know, Rutgers here has 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 5 forced fumbles and 3 interceptions. That's 8 forced turnovers. They haven't given up a single turnover. Wow. That is stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Michigan's only forced a total of 2 turnovers. We have an interception from Jamon Green, and then David Ojabo recovered a fumble. So Rutgers being more effective at forcing turnovers, it will be interesting here. I'd say if Michigan doesn't make a turnover in this game, that we will have one of the more disciplined and efficient offenses in the Big Ten, confirmed, even though we haven't still faced a good opponent. Disciplined and efficient for what our strengths are is different than necessarily, being the best there is, because factoring in the fact that I don't think we have a quarterback right now. I mean, we have a game manager, but we don't have an elite quarterback. If we just have kind of a game manager again in Cade McNamara, then having an offense that hasn't had any turnovers in 4 games and still averages for about 500 yards per game, even against these opponents, is mightily efficient for a Michigan offense, I would say. So that just kind of wraps things up from my perspective here. I look at this game and what Greg Schiano has done at Rutgers, what Jim Harbaugh seems to have done to Michigan this offseason, and I think that Rutgers will probably score, I'd say, like 14 points. 10 to 14 at minimum. They could score 21 because Greg Schiano will do what he always does, and he'll come out with nothing to lose because it's Rutgers. And Michigan, I don't think they're a team to overlook many people this year, but we have some weaknesses. We have some coverage issues, among other things, and we kind of have a weakness in the passing game. It won't be as easy of a victory as NIU will be. Rutgers they'll be the Power 5 team out of them and Washington who we face that'll have the better offense. I would say that we will cover the 20-point spread. We'll probably win by 28-35 points here, maybe even more. I mean, beat NIU by 53. We beat Western Michigan by 33, and we beat Washington by 21. I would say with Rutgers, we're more in rhythm. We're just the better team. We seem to be improving every game. I would say 28-35 points, Michigan Wolverines. And this is against, again, a highly improved Rutgers team. And I'm confident on this pick. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'd actually say if I'm wrong and we don't win by 28 or 35 points, there should be some alarms going off in our heads regarding this Michigan team. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment your thoughts below, and just join this awesome community again. Like, subscribe, it's just that simple. Who do you think wins this game? Can Greg Schiano pull off the upset? Or is it pretty safe to say that Jim Harbaugh and his Wolverines will do what they normally do to Rutgers outside of last year and beat them by 4 or 5 touchdowns or more? Thank you all for watching again, and I'll see you around.